This video is going to take a look at place, or a unique location on the Earth's surface. This is a pretty fundamental concept in geography, and one that you should be able to use and explain using terms like toponym, situation, and site. These are pretty core concepts that we'll be looking at and trying to apply here in class as well. But when we define place, as I started, location is a position that something occupies on Earth, and really what we're looking at is what makes something of any given place or point on Earth unique. What gives it? What are the unique characteristics or things that make it stand out apart from others? And as we look at that, we can use the terms toponym, site, and situation as a way of referring to that. So, looking at place names, this is one of the, we often just dismiss the idea of the simple name or toponym of any given place as just being sort of a proper label. But oftentimes there's a meaning or a message or a lot of cultural traditions or historical context that give meaning to a particular place name. If we look at this particular lake, and for sake of my own inability to pronounce it, is a good name of a place name, that it not only is just a difficult lake to pronounce, but what it represents is actually the three different concepts tied together to represent a historical context that Native Americans in this area, or the Nipmuc Indians, had lived in this area, and they lived on different parts of the lake. And basically, is you fish on your side of the lake, we will fish on our side of the lake, and no one fishes in the middle of the lake. And it was just the term itself was a combination of those three phrases that made it very unique. And those traditions are still identified or traced back in the place name today. In terms of situation, when we look at situation, what we're trying to address are where is it relative to other places. So when you give directions to a friend to your house or directions to Mounds View High School, you maybe reference different characteristics in the natural landscape or in the built-up landscape, or things that are relatively close or directionally close to Mounds View High School. So driving towards Mounds View High School, you maybe reference the lake and the park that's nearby that people turn in and onto Lake Valentine Drive, and that Mounds View High School is situated near the interchange between 35W and 694. It's in the northern suburbs of the Twin Cities. We could talk, depending on the scale that we're referring to Mounds View High School, we can talk about the situation in many different contexts. We could say it's across from the First Student Bus Barn. And all those would be references to Mounds View's situation. As we look at another way we can look at situation is also to look at the importance. Singapore, for example, is one of the major trading hubs in the global economy, and because it's situated in a place on the Strait of Malacca, between Indonesia and Malaysia, where it is situated where about a quarter of the world's trade goes through that particular strait. And so because of its situation, it's grown into this hub of shipping trade, and you can see the landscape has been adapted to fit and take advantage of its situation in terms of the global economy. We can also look at the Twin Cities. In the development of the Twin Cities, that Minneapolis and St. Paul were situated on the Mississippi River because of what it meant to it was a convergence point, a point of convergence or a node of where the agricultural products of the plains and of the Dakotas was coming in, the Minnesota and Red River valleys, where the mills could be created to process the harvest and then sent to the markets in terms of flour and other foodstuffs. And the metro area developed in part because of being situated on the Mississippi River. And even today, if you look at the landscape, you can still see the presence and the influence of the original mills that were located or situated right on the water. In terms of site, when we look at that, we're looking at the physical character of the place. And a good way to keep site and situation separate, or in terms of your understanding, would be to think about situation describes how you might arrive at a place. Site are the characteristics that you are going to find when you actually get. When we look at the site, those site characteristics, that would include things like, what is the weather like? What are the other resources around? What's the elevation? Is it hilly? Are there mountains? Is it swampy? What is the soil like? The vegetation? What kind of trees would we find? All the characteristics that are going to be very specific to that particular place that really define it as a location when you are there, not necessarily as directional guidance relative to other things. And so we can look at the city of Singapore and we can talk about the site and what is there, and beyond just being located on a major area of sea trade, but the specific characteristics. We could talk about the transit system. We could talk about the being an island, being nearby, and being very accessible, and being in a tropical climate. All the different things that would make Singapore a unique place. Another more local U.S. example would be New York City. Very similar in terms of a hub of trade, as the world economy has grown, and New York City's population and its importance on a global scale have increased. We've also seen the site change, that there's actually the harbor's been dredged and they've expanded New York City in a way to expand to accommodate the growing population and the importance it has as its importance has grown over time. So, looking at the idea of place, not only be familiar with that concept, but also those terms of toponym, situation, and site.